Who makes a better top-of-the-line luxury off-roader, Land Rover or Lexus? We're going to find out with today's comparison. The Land Rover in Lehigh is providing us with this Defender OCTA. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. If you have any questions, you need any help, just ask for Bradley. Let's get right into it. Powering the OCTA is a twin-turbo 4.4-liter V8 that goes to an 8-speed automatic. Fuel economy is 15 around town, 19 on the highway, with power outputs being 626 horsepower and then 553 pound-feet of torque. Now, powering the Lexus is a twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 paired to a hybrid system and a 10-speed automatic. It produces 457 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque. Fuel economy, you can expect average high teens. If you're looking for more straight to the point, unbiased comparisons like this, make sure you subscribe. Now, the OCTA definitely looks more the part when it comes to off-roading. You've got a very boxy design with circular headlights. Like, that's just quintessential off-roading. And because it's over 80 inches wide, they actually have marker lights there in the center section. You got a big exposed recovery point as well. The Lexus, on the other hand, well, doesn't really look like an off-roader. And when you have it in the lower ride height setting, it kind of looks like a minivan because of this whole bottom section of the grille that's, well, not all that great for approach. You do have recovery points, but it's all hidden behind that massive grille and bumper. Now, with my oversized aftermarket tires, the Lexus does sit a bit higher than the Defender, but if you had stock tire to stock tire, the Defender would sit just slightly higher than the Lexus, but they'd be very close. Now, the Defender has 33-inch tall tires from the factory. One thing that people always talk about is the wheels. 20-inch wheels with this all-terrain tire package, so you definitely have a larger wheel. Now, the Lexus comes stock with 18s, but you can fit a 17-inch wheel because the caliper of the rotor small enough to make that work. And tire-wise, it comes stock with roughly 33s, but you can fit 34s. These are a little bit bigger, like I said, oversized. Now, the Defender uses air suspension. That means that the item that raises and lowers the car, that's also the shock absorber and the spring, it's all one unit. That means replacing it's going to be a lot less expensive than what we have on the Lexus, but if you do have a suspension failure, like, you lose that corner altogether. So, big problem. The Lexus, on the other hand, uses hydraulics. So you have a separate spring and shock absorber from the hydraulics. The hydraulics raise and lower the car. The spring and the shocks, right, they help absorb the bumps and everything. So if the hydraulics fail for some reason, you still have a regular shock and spring the car can sit on, so still drivable. And if you look, the hydraulics are actually here towards the center of the car underneath. Let's now talk about construction. The Defender is unibody, independent suspension all around, but it's not a regular run-of-the-mill unibody, it's an HD unibody. The Defender weighs over 6,000 pounds, and it's not because of leather, it's because it's beefed up. Also, $825 for the payload. Now, the Lexus is body on frame with independent suspension up front, a solid axle in the back, so it's kind of more of a traditional off-roader setup, even though it doesn't look like an off-roader as much. The Lexus is also quite heavy-duty with the construction, weighing over 6,000 pounds. Payload's a bit higher, 1,190. Now, something interesting to note, the Lexus is over a foot longer than the Defender. Now, if you take into account the spare tire, they're almost the same size, but if you just look at the Defender body, yeah, there's over a foot difference. Now, does this translate into extra space for the Lexus? Well, kind of. The cargo area is indeed longer than what you have with the Defender. You can see I have a full-size tire, almost a 35-inch tall tire back here. You also get 2400 watt inverter, but the hybrid does push up the load floor pretty high, and the body and frame construction also pushes everything up. Solid axle pushes things up. But anyways, you just have a traditional hatch. The Defender, on the other hand, has this cool swing gate. So you actually have storage there. And you'll note that, yeah, again, not as deep, but it's not tiny. Like, you think that it would be way smaller, being over a foot shorter, but it's really not. You also have the ability to adjust the suspension up and down from the rear, which is nice. And this whole setup is a lot higher with the space, more vertical space. Now, this part's probably the most shocking to me, and that is the seating position and legroom here in the back. So I'm in the Lexus here. I do have heated and ventilated seats. I got my own climate zone, and the seats themselves are very nice with the trim. Same thing with the door panel trim. You also get sunshades, but this comes down pretty far. It's tight in here. Now, the Defender, on the other hand, actually has a little bit more knee space. Not that much more, but it does have more knee space. And then when it comes to materials, I think they're just as high quality feeling. Same thing with the door panel. I've got a lot more headroom with that boxy design, panoramic sunroof. But again, remember, a foot shorter but I have the same amount of space, a little bit more actually. Taking a look at the front of the Lexus, really nice trim on these seats. You got a bunch of power adjustments on the side lumbar support, really nice trim on the door panel. Now I do mention the Lexus has thicker glass throughout. Getting in, you got to step up a bit. I got both these in the off-road height, by the way. They do give you a grab handle, which does help out. Full digital cluster in the Lexus, and you notice that my hydraulics are still beeping. The system never seems to like want to fully raise. Anyways, you've got the steering wheel, which is nice. You got paddles on it, fancy controls on the front. It does have a pretty slick 360. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Toyota/Lexus kind of copied Land Rover with a lot of the camera stuff. Looks very similar. You got top infotainment system, and then bottom screen for different items, like it shows you the suspension. Still trying to raise after like over 20 minutes. You do have a bunch of physical buttons in this. So 2-speed transfer case, you got crawl control. We also have multi-terrain select. Physical buttons for the heated ventilated seats in this area. I like the location of the phone charging pad. It's actually quite nice. This is for the suspension adjustment. And then you got a cool box center console. It does flip both ways. Now something that's nice about this Lexus, it actually has selectable diff locks for the front and the rear. The center is here in the center, go figure. You do have a camera rear view mirror with this, and then just a traditional sunroof. Now the Defender seats are quite a bit more stylized in a sense. There are just as many adjustments, it's just they're in the screen. There's some on the seats. Regular glass throughout, which is interesting. And then again, look at the door panel. This is even more stylized. This one actually has these side steps, which help out. One downside, they only have a side grab handle. They don't have one here. They just have the traditional at the very top. Anyways, super solid. I actually think the construction of both these feels really nice. But yeah, you've got a digital cluster. The steering wheel, again, more stylized. You got the OCTA mode, which is really cool. So like your Raptor Baja driving. Paddles on the back. 360 camera. Has an off-road mode. But yeah, a lot more is built into the screen with this, I would say. I mean, you do have a bunch of physical controls here for important items like your low range, the air suspension, adjustment, climate controls, and everything. And you notice this does have a center and a rear diff lock. Everything's automatic. You just change the drive modes in this. It's not like the Lexus where your drive modes plus also adjusting different things. This is a lot more, I'd say, easy to use for people that are into computer off-roading. Anyways, tons of space here. We've got a phone charging pad, cool box center console, which I don't know why that's on right now. Nice trim there. Camera rear view mirror. And then we do have a panoramic center fin, a fancy headliner. Now when it comes to pricing, this OCTA stickers are about $175K, but you can get it starting in the 150s for an OCTA. The LX starts at about $114K if you get a 2-row like what I have. But after options, most of them are going to sticker for about $117,000 to almost $120,000. Let's drive them. OCTA. Oops. I meant to go to normal height with it. I accidentally clicked all the way down to access. I kind of forget. I've been long-term testing the LX, and that has so many button presses for the height adjustment. A lot more than this. So yeah, man, I love Defenders. I will always have a soft spot for these Defenders. I love how they look, and I love how they drive. And you know, I like the off-roading experience too, because with unibody off-roaders, there's a bit of an articulation challenge, I guess is what we will call it, where you've got to really be good with placement on the cars, with wheel placement and everything. And it takes a lot of driver skill. It really does take a lot of driver skill, because you're gonna pick up wheels all the time. Unibody independent suspension. They do some fancy stuff with the suspension to increase the articulation, but you're still gonna have some stuff happening. Now I was really interested to see how this drives with all-terrain tires, because I've only driven an OCTA with the street-oriented tires, and it drives really nice. Now this is not the most aggressive all-terrain tire that you can get with the OCTA. You can get these with a more extreme tire. So again, if you get the street tire, you're like 155. These are 130 miles an hour top speed, and then the most aggressive is 99. What I've been seeing people do is they get the street tire version, and then they put more aggressive all-terrain tires on it. And it makes sense, right? You don't want your computer locked out, but also, like, as someone who's owned a bunch of like off-road SUVs and everything, I have no desire to go above, and I know people are gonna give me crap for this, I have no desire to go above like 80, maybe 85 miles an hour. Because anything higher than that with all-terrain tires, it's loud, it's gonna get kind of choppy, because again, the tires just aren't meant to go that fast. And plus, in a big SUV, it's like, this can for sure do it. It's got the horsepower and everything. But it's also a giant box. It's also a giant box. I love the torque. It is incredibly smooth. Incredibly smooth. I'm gonna turn that auto stop start off. I hate that feature. I get why cars have it, but... And I don't even mind the AC part, the AC cutoff part. I don't like the power loss for a second. But yeah, because this is unibody handle, and with a 60 suspension, I mean, this thing, it corners basically flat. This is really a amazing piece of engineering, where you have something that can do crazy off-road trails, and yet it also drives like a sports car, basically. Now it's a 6,000 pound sports car, so you still feel the weight and everything, but it's quite amazing how well this drives. When you do go over bumps, it is gonna, again, it's unibody, you kind of feel things a little bit more in a way, kind of teeters side to side a bit, but it's not too bad. You know, vehicles with a solid axle will teeter more side to side typically, so not bad at all. Super smooth power delivery. Again, with the auto stop start off, that was much better. Right up. Love the engine. This is a great car. And the thing that's really cool about Octas is they're now, you know, when they first came out, it's kind of hard to get one, right? That's just how cars always work. Whenever, it doesn't matter whether it's a Corolla or a Defender Octa. Whenever you have a new generation or a new version of a car, it takes a minute to ramp up production. There's now some availability with these, and so it's much easier to get one. And let's just say it, I mean, if you're looking at any luxury off-road SUV, and the one that most people are going to be comparing this against is a G-Wagon, you have to at least go and drive one of these. There's so many people that buy G-Wagons that would be much happier in one of these. It's quieter, it's more comfortable, the engine performance is right there with a G63, if not better, right? Adjustable suspension's great, and I see G63s all the time. I don't see these Defender Octas very often, right? Because it's still new enough. There's not a lot of them on the street, and they're not going to produce a bunch of them, right? It's still going to be a low production car at the end of the day. So I don't know. I think you get that excitement factor. Oh, the engine's just wonderful. So much low end torque. You got a great top end too. Yeah, I don't know why anyone would buy a G-Wagon with it, like with how this drives, other than like, I gotta have a G-Wagon, I gotta have the looks, I gotta have the status. I don't know, maybe it was just a glitch, because after turning the car off and then back on, it's now not beeping with the hydraulics. I will say though, I noticed that Defender's suspension, air suspension, is more consistent with its raising and lowering, in terms of it goes up and it's up, it goes down and it's down. It doesn't do the blinking that this does. But this is a little bit quicker to lower, but it's honestly not, like, that new 60 suspension is so fast, you're not really getting a benefit one or the other in terms of speed with raising and lowering. The biggest difference is going to be on-road versus off-road driving. Air suspension is going to give you a more plush ride on-road, because you've got, well, you're riding on air, right? You've got all the bag. Now, Land Rover has a pretty trick system where even at the top of the bags, you still get some down travel, but it is going to be a bit more, it's unibody independent suspension. Off-road's going to be a bit more tiptoey at the top. This, I've done plenty of off-roading. It feels just as comfortable at the top as it does at the bottom. So a bit more comfortable off-road, but it's like, is anyone going to take either of these off-road other than me, right? You know what I mean? Now, the power delivery, yeah, you just don't have it's not even close. Like, the torque on this is, in theory, higher. In theory. But what you feel is that V8's just got so much muscle. And this isn't bad. Like, when you drive this in isolation, this thing's a rocket ship. This thing, like, for me, this thing's fast. But the Defender's like crazy fast. Much more power. I was more comfortable in the Defender. The seat's more comfortable. The knee space, sorry about that. The knee space is also more comfortable, like this. Yeah, again, body and frame restricts the amount of space that you have, because you've got the cab sitting on top of the frame, so you only have so much space. And that's why, again, and it's also Lexus's styling, right? The Defender is a box, and so they make use of the space very well. This, on the other hand, they've got the pointed bumpers and everything, and so they don't make use of the space as well. So you have a vehicle that's literally over a foot longer and does not feel any bigger inside. It's interesting, the steering. So like both of them have fancy, overly assisted electric power steering. It makes more sense in the Defender because like the chassis and everything is so rigid and direct with that when you have super quick to react steering, it just feels natural. This, it feels kind of weird. It's weird, and I notice that every single time I drive a truck-based SUV or truck with electric power steering like this, it just feels weird, because you're already kind of isolated because you're in a cab on top of a frame, and then you got double isolation, whereas at least in the unibody, you can't feel things through the steering, but you can through the chassis. This is, I mean, some of you like the double isolation, right? It's kind of comfortable. But it means that it's hard to tell what the vehicle's doing. And this definitely has way more body roll than the Defender. Like, not even in the same world of body roll. So, this is, you know, this is actually a tough one, because although the Defender starts at, so let's say this starts at roughly 115 and that starts at about 150, roughly. That's a pretty big price difference between the two. Man, it's honestly, it should just be straightforward. It's like, well, the Lexus offers pretty much everything you get in the Defender feature-wise at a lower price point, and you do get, like, I think the build quality in both of them is pretty similar. Like, they both feel very good. Funny enough, the hood in the Defender feels more solid than the hood in the Lexus, but then the doors on this feel a little bit more solid than the doors in the Defender, but both of them feel solid overall. Yeah, honestly, a tough choice. The Defender is more exciting to me, much more exciting. And those Octas, like, I know some people have bought them now, and it seems like they're having really good luck with them. Like, they haven't had any issues. Land Rover seems to have fixed a lot of the kind of quirks and everything the Defender was having. And I've had some glitches with this car. It hasn't been horrible. It hasn't left me stranded ever. But I don't really think that there's... People would say that, oh, the Lexus is more reliable. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think they probably have pretty similar reliability, as crazy as that might be to say. I think it might be pretty similar. And so, I think it's going to come down to which one you like the look of more. Because, I mean, if you can afford... I'm assuming that if you can afford one, you can afford the other. Because most people, once you go over $100,000, you can... You know what I mean? It's like... You're usually not stretching. Right? It's like, oh, you could probably afford a $300,000 car, but you're looking at a $100,000 car because it meets all your needs. So, with that in mind, I mean, it's still tough. The Lexus is kind of like a safer bet in terms of the consistency of it, right? The drive and, I don't know, probably the long-term ownership experience, but the Defender's like the Octa's like the hot blonde. And some of you are married to a hot blonde. You know, it works out. It doesn't always go into flames, you know what I mean? So I kind of lean towards the Defender, even though I obviously bought this for the long-term test, but that Defender is so good. Let me know which one you pick.